Came here to say to you very well, the meeting went very well. The tea was nice and sweet and very hot. So, the practice of having tea is such that, it's a slow process. You can't just gulp it like you drink other things, some girl. So you have to take your time. But it was essentially what it was. It was a tea meeting. The president was meeting the former president. So the CIC, the commander-in-chief, Julius Malema, was meeting with the former president, Jacob Zuma, over tea.
So you now regard him as president and former president. How time has changed since you said this was a monument of corruption, Mr. Pambo?
Well, he remains a former president. That's a more legalistic sort of way of responding. And I'm making a point now. I'm saying the former president, Jacob Zuma, met with the commander-in-chief over tea.
So will former President Zuma be going to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry now?
Well, I'm not the spokesperson of the former president. I'm the spokesperson of the EFF.
Vuyani.
So I came here simply to allow me to finish with some girl. We came here simply to tell you that the tea went very well and to pay you courtesy.
Vuyani, you spoke about how we've traveled far, So you've come out with your good heart
Yes.
to tell us about how great and wonderful the tea is.
Absolutely.
Will you take us into some confidence into what the discussions were around constitutionality?
Well, right now,
Consider that we came from far, just like you.
I fully understand. As I explained how the meeting went, it was a meeting over tea, a very nice tea that we had with the former president. You know that black people do not need permission to meet. We meet anytime, anywhere, wherever we want to. We've got the constitutional right to meet. So we came here to meet the former president to have tea, as we were invited.
Mr. Pambo,
Unlike you.
Mr. Pambo, what was the discussions, the substance of the meeting of President Zuma and Julius Malema? Was it about the Constitution? Was it about the State Capture Commission of Inquiry? We saw also the presence of senior counsel advocate Dalimpo. Was it here in his capacity as a senior counsel or in his capacity as a CCT member of the EFF?
Well, he came as a plus one. He came accompanying the president, the commander-in-chief, Julius Malema, as I did as well. We were accompanying the president. That is why we're here. And the president was meeting with the former president, Zuma, over tea, as per with the invite.
What were the
Did
discussions?
he ever make an apology for what he's previously said about the former president?
Well, the tea meeting was about, the tea. They had tea together, and it was a meeting between the former president and the commander-in-chief. There was no agenda, as you know. As the invite said, let's have tea. So they had tea. There was no discussion around any other thing, around anything that you may imagining. So let's stop with the gymnastics of speculation and trying to be prophets. Bushiri is no longer here, so let's not try to replace him. So it's very clear and very important that we keep with the spirit of the meeting.
Okay, the meeting. What has changed?
Before they leave? Before they hop on the chopper, will they speak to us?
No. Tsidi, you were not invited. So there was a time
Yes, we were.
and space. When we invite you, we do take you into our confidence.
But what does it
Right
mean
now,
for
we're
the relationship
taking
going
you into our confidence in the nature of what was the reason for the meeting. We came here to have tea with the former president. Did we not discuss that? We did. We said that in public. The commander-in-chief said it. He said, I'm going to go and meet the former president to have tea. And that's what happened. He never
What
spoke
does it mean
about
for them going forward for their relationship?
Well, if the former president wants to invite the commander-in-chief, if he has time, and the opposite being true, then they will meet for tea. There is no reason that should be pushed on us to say, you need permission for you to meet with any other black person. So you meet with anyone at any time. So they met over tea. There was a discussion.
This isn't about permission, Vuyani. You announced it on social media that you're coming here, and it was very public. So now that you're here, you're leaving the speculation mill to keep running. You cannot say that we're actually coming up with things. Tell us then, at the very least, because your president has actually described the former president in many different ways. What's changed so much then, Vuyani, that you actually want to come in a chopper to come see the former president?
Well, the only thing that has changed is that the commander-in-chief, Julius Malema, met with the former president to have a cup of tea. Something unprecedented, something that is unexpected, like the coronavirus. So they met and had a cup of tea. There was nothing more than that.
So the negotiations failed. Whatever they're trying to convince him to do didn't work out. That's ultimately what you're saying.
We were
There's
never,
no victory here.
there was never a negotiation that was communicated. And you know this for a fact. There was never a thing or an agenda that was put up. The agenda was tea. a cup of tea. So I think you must be patient, like people are drinking tea, because you'll end up burning yourself with these speculations that you're making.
Vuyani Pambo, between you and I, we know we are both political animals,
They're
but
going
Vuyani,
to be the last question.
okay,
now,
Mr. Vuyani, Mr. Vuyani, you know that in politics, there is never a coincidence. In every meeting that takes place, there is an agenda, there is a road ahead that is going to be reached. They say there are no permanent friends, there are no permanent enemies. That is permanent interest in politics. Are the interests of Julius Malema and former President Jacob Zuma converging in this current political conjuncture?
Well, I mean, I don't think you're asking me anything. You are trying to be a politician, some girl, and you're not at this point. You're a journalist. So don't say me and you were politicians. No, stop that thing. It's very simple. Well, the commander-in-chief came to have tea as per the invite. He has honored that invite, and he has come to have a meeting with the old man. So they just had tea with the old man. So I came here, as I said, just to give you courtesy.
Let's speak about what the EFF and KZN has actually said. They've actually not speculated. They've released a statement basically saying that this meeting is to try and consolidate a power base here in KwaZulu-Natal, and that they needed to meet with the old man to sort of get a blessing from him to do this. So this is not speculation. Your own organization in KwaZulu-Natal said that. Please, may you respond?
Well, the EFF is a unitary organization. The upper structure is binding on the lower structures. I'm telling you, as a spokesperson of the EFF, national spokesperson, there's no other spokesperson besides Delisile after me. And I'm the head of communications. I'm communicating this officially now to say that it was a meeting about tea. There is no other voice that should speak after that as telling us about consolidating anything. The only consolidation here was a mobilization towards having tea. We just had tea. Now we're demobilizing. Yes, absolutely. Now we're demobilizing.
You need to give us more details.
Between the former president and Julius Malema, how were they communicating with one
How
another
was the
in a
tea?
private space?
How was the tea?
Well, it's very simple. I started by explaining that the tea was very nice and sweet and hot.
Would you say that
But I'm still answering a question. Don't be excited. I'm saying, Samgel, the mood of the meeting was a very nice one. It was cordial. It was a meeting of black people, and it ends there.
There was a strained relationship between Zuma and Malema before. Would you say that they've made now smooth those ruffled feathers?
Well, you're right. It was a meeting between the president and the former president. So that meeting was between the two of them. It was about tea. They had tea, and it ended there.
What's the importance of the presence of Tony Yengini, the ANC's NEC member, who's a very strong supporter of former President Jacob Zuma and a father figure to Julius Malema, who's seen as someone who guides them alongside Mzwandile Masina and all the other young leaders there are in Parliament?
Well, I mean, I did say in the beginning, and I think you do know my title, I'm the spokesperson of the EFF. I do not speak for Babu Tony Yengeni. I speak for the EFF, and it ends there. So thank you very much for coming, guys. I hope you enjoy the scenery. It's very nice here. It's different from what we know from, the township that we come from, the, Bazi, Johannesburg that you know, Gamgele. So I hope you enjoy the scenery. We're about to go now. Thank you very much. We were just paying you courtesy. And
So the monument of corruption, which we used to say is a very beautiful scenery in Nkandla. As they used to say, the monument of corruption seems to have that beautiful scenery in Nkandla, as they say.
Vuyani Pambo there, the spokesperson, the national spokesperson for the economic freedom fighters, taking questions from journalists, saying that it was a hot tea, sweet tea, not giving away really any details about the substantive discussion, or even if there was substantive discussion, significant discussion between the leader of the EFF, Julius Malema, and the former President Jacob Zuma, and not saying very much, saying that there was nothing stopping people, he used the phrase black people, from having a meeting with each other and drinking tea together. Let's cross now to our reporting team who's in Nkandla for you this afternoon. Zanda Nkobol there, our senior political reporter. Zanda, good afternoon to you. You were with Vuyani Pambo. Unfortunately, not many details coming through.
The meeting was a meeting about tea. How was the tea? It was very nice, great and hot. That's all we got from Vuyani Pambo. Why is Tony Yengeni in this meeting? I don't speak on behalf of Tony Yengeni, Stephen. That's all we got. The meeting was about tea. We were told not to speculate what the agenda was about, even though we actually were invited, Stephen, might I add, and we actually were told by some of our sources what the nature of this meeting is about. What's the relationship between Julius Malema and Jacob Zuma right right now? Well, this was a meeting about black people. There's no crime when black people meet. So, Stephen, this is all that we've gotten from Vuyani Pambo, who says he was giving us and paying us a courtesy by responding to and coming to speak to us this afternoon following that meeting. We know that Malema is expected to leave, and it seems as though preparations are afoot, Stephen, for the EFF leader Julius Malema, former chair of the EFF Dalimpofu, who was a part of this meeting, Tony Yengeni, the ANC-NEC member, as well as Ekurhuleni Mayor Mzwandile Masina, are expected to hop onto the chopper right behind me, where they are expected then to actually head back to Durban and head back to Johannesburg following that meeting about tea.
So a very important meeting about tea. We don't quite know what the importance of the tea was. It's not going to stop the speculation and the rumour mill, Zianda, is it? I mean, we're going to be talking about tea, whether you prefer the former president's favourite rooibos, whether you think that this meeting was a Joko tea meeting, or whatever it was. This is going to go on for some time. What they have successfully done is won our attention.
Definitely, Stephen, and I think that is exactly the point, that we have the attention then of the nation. They have the attention, rather, of the nation. They have the attention of what their plans might be. And if you heard me asking then, Pambo, about the EFF and KZN statements about a possible consolidation of power in KwaZulu-Natal, that they welcome that this particular meeting. Vuyani Pambo saying, well, that he's the head of communication and the march of the line of March will be coming from him specifically, but not much. All we know is that this is a meeting about tea, and not seemingly worried then about, the rumor mill and this widespread speculation, rather, about what this particular meeting was about. All we know then is that this was a meeting of black people, and whether or not then the relationship between Zuma and Malema, which we know has been frayed deeply so at some particular stage, that's neither here nor there now. We are where we are right now, and all we know is that the meeting was about tea, and we'll speculate then what the tea was like and what it was about.
Well, Zianda, the other way in which the story's been developing this afternoon, and I know you're in Nkandla, but in Soweto, our colleague, Palani Pakadi, listening to President Cyril Ramaphosa, saying that he hopes that former President Zuma reconsiders his stance. In a way, quite a strange comment, perhaps an unexpected comment from President Ramaphosa about all of this. It is, in the end, about the Constitutional Court and the Zondo Commission.
Absolutely, Stephen, and it's also about the rule of law. I think the reason why then the president would also be careful about how he responds is because we understand that there are also some ANC leaders who are believed to be very close to him and around him, who've also reached out to former President Jacob Zuma. So there is some semblance of tiptoeing around the former president, if I could put it that way, but really just a strong urge for him to abide by that Constitutional Court ruling then, which says that he, one, must and is forced to appear before the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. But not only that, he must then respond to the questions that are posed to him unless he can prove how or justify how he'd be self-incriminating himself if he does so. I don't think anybody at this particular point wants to lash out at the former presidents. The reasons for this, I can't quite tell, but I mean, it's quite telling then that you have a Tony Yengeni, who is a current ANC-NEC member who flanked then EFF leader Julius Malema, Mzwandile Masina, as well as Dalimpofu to this particular venue here in Nkandla. It's very telling then about the nature of not only the dynamics within the ANC right now, but also the shift then that we may or may not be seeing on the political landscape. We know the former president as well, Stephen, was meant to meet with a youth leader, Bongi Nkosi Khanyile, who at the time was leading the EFF's student protests, and he was arrested, and that meeting was subsequently postponed. And then a few days later, then Malema comes on social media and publicly invites the former president for tea. I don't think this was a coincidence or a mistake then that this was done publicly so, especially since, Stephen, I'm aware that, in fact, this is not the first time Malema and Zuma have had a conversation, with many asking why didn't they just call each other. So certainly it seems a message of sort is being sent. To whom is it being sent to? I cannot answer that, Stephen. I guess we just need to continue speculating about tea.
Well, maybe we just need to drink a bit more of the stuff. Siyanda Ngobo, thank you very much indeed. Really do appreciate it, from the green rolling hills of Nkandla.